Greetings, greetings, greetings. You are now tuned into the vault. Trust Christian, know nothing, control everything. Just want to thank you for tuning in live or listening to replay. It's just been welcome to 2019, I should say. Really excited about doing this episode today. I know that there are quite a few people that have been waiting for me, Trust Christian, to do another episode, and the vault to do another episode about trust. And foundations and everything that we embody here at the vault about owning nothing, controlling everything, focusing on asset protection, asset separation. And so today's episode is going to be the truth about trust and why they are used by politicians and celebrities. And I just wanted to go over some of those things today. And I just want to thank all the loyal listeners, new listeners that are looking to the vault for specific or certain pieces of information and education so they can go out and protect their family estate because that's what it's always been about. That's what it's always been about. It's always been about family. And I just want to thank you all. Thank you, Mr. Mark or Minister Mark, for tuning in live. Happy New Year to you as well. If anyone's listening directly through the YouTube, feel free to just give me a big shout out. I missed you all just as much as you all have missed me. It's Tuesday, so you all know that it's always on the special day of Tuesday. I'm actually probably going to end up coming back and doing another episode at 8 p.m. on Tuesday Central Standard Time. So thank you, Bernadette, thank you, Don, Shy, appreciate you as well, and so thank you, Angela Adams, thank you all. It's just been a joy, like I say, to be able to get back out and get on the road and do some things. So, nothing's happened crazy, but I've been traveling quite a bit. Being a trustee, the life. Thank you, Riedel. Thank you. Being a trustee, it puts you in a position of being able to maintain a certain level of privacy that most are not able to enjoy. But once again, today's episode is going to be about the truth about trust and why they are used by politicians and celebrities. And I was sitting around some of the mentors the other day, Robert Kiyosaki, and being able to hear some of the counsel that he has that talks about the good, the bad, and the ugly, talking about how the good, the good I mean, the bad is sole proprietorship, and the bad is kind of like these middle ground entities, and then they still at that point, even the council wasn't even able to say that a trust was the actual good, and so it was just really interesting to hear the conversation about it, and I just wanted to comment on it about how trusts are utilized or why they're utilized by politicians and celebrities is because they provide a high level of protection, a high level of privacy. I was talking to an associate the other day, and they were talking about how when you talk to celebrities, there are a certain point in their career where their counsel or their management will say you won't be using any more of your original information, whether that is social security numbers, whether that is actual true birth dates. So when you all are looking at celebrities and politicians, a lot of that information is not the most accurate information. Why? Because they're there to protect their privacy. If you knew the birthday and you kind of surprised them, you'd be giving them birthday gifts. If you knew pieces of information, it wouldn't be there to protect them. And so, just wanted to put that out there. I'm going to go into more detail. Still want to I see a lot of people hopping on here in the first couple minutes. Compatone Bay, appreciate you. Jackbone, appreciate you as well for tuning in live. But let's just go ahead and get into it. Ladies and gentlemen, when you all look at, I had an article the other day. This is about, I'll pull it up right now. This is an article by a governor. He's actually governor-elect J.B. Pritzker up in Chicago. If you all look him up, you all can see that J.B. Pritzker is looking to be governor-elect up in what is this Chicago, and it literally says is blind trust not totally blind, and here's why. And this is going to go across the board for politicians, once again, as well as celebrities, the reason why they're utilizing these entities called a blind trust, or and just to make you aware, there's over 80 different types of trust. So we have to be very aware of why they're utilizing these entities, and why they're not even shared traditionally with the public. And the reason that is because clearly this individual, JB Prisker, is a multi-billionaire. And for him to have assets in one specific entity, to have assets in his name, we live in the age of litigious society. That means where people are suing for whatever reason. They're just suing. They're suing because you stepped on their shoestring. Okay, they're suing because you stepped on their dog's foot, or your dog came and sniffed you. So people are suing. You're suing a rich person because of many different reasons. And so, celebrities, politicians, the reason why they're utilizing these trusts is to protect themselves. And so, when we have asset protection workshops, when we have these type of workshops, we're having workshops to share with you that asset protection is for asset separation, and asset separation gives you asset protection. And so when you understand that politicians and celebrities are utilizing these things for those purposes alone, well, why would you not? And so, just to be around and share with individuals that these trusts are utilized for that reason, then you can understand why you need to have one, why your family needs to have one. I know a lot of individuals that want to grow assets in general. Even the house that individuals want to obtain, it's inside of a trust contract. And so when I talk to individuals, as far as consulting, or families as consulting, they understand that a trust is to protect assets, period. And so politicians and celebrities are the ones traditionally to have assets to protect, but that's across the board. All of us have assets to protect. Your greatest asset is the thing that's making money. And so if it's the thing that's making money, most of the time that would say you are in a trust. Correct. And so that's why I had a trustee come to me the other day, and they said, Christian, could you talk to us about the Cesta K Trust? Could you talk about this government social security trust? It's a Cesta K. I'm actually typing this in the chat. Cesta K V Trust. I think that's how you spell it. And you all can look this up. This is a trust that I don't utilize. But these are trusts that are utilized by the common public through Social Security. Why? Because the people are in the position of a beneficiary. And because the people are in the position of a beneficiary, they're not in a position of control. And like I say, we're taught from a private education that the trust is to own nothing, control everything. That is the thought process behind the trust. But it's also for the benefit of the beneficiary. Well, if you're the beneficiary, then you have no control. Not in all cases. And so, I just want to thank Bo for tuning in live. AA2BB, Alvin, thank you for tuning in live. Happy New Year. Gustavo, thank you for tuning in live. If you all have any questions, feel free to type them in the chat. I'm going to actually do a Q&A here at the end, but I did want to talk about why these politicians and celebrities, and like I say, it's really for asset protection. When we talk about the blind trust, that you see that common across the board. This is why the president of the United States currently, Donald Trump, said, even during his election, he said, hey, I don't have any tax return to show, but the companies that I manage all pay their fair share in taxes, and that's perfectly fine. And so I just wanted to go over that today and really put a lot of emphasis on it. And I see a lot of young people that want to do Instagram, they want to have businesses. Well, politicians, before they ever became a political career, they're traditionally multi-billionaires, such as J.B. Pritzker, such as Donald Trump, such as Mitt Romney. These are individuals that are very prominent in the business environment, but at the same time, they went into the political realm, and so now their assets are traditionally given over into a blind trust and things of that nature. And it's the same thing for celebrities. Once you get to a certain income level, you're able to operate and utilize these trusts. I remember sitting inside of the training that I had for a trust in a private education, and the first thing we learned was was that you had to meet a certain income criteria to even know about a trust, let alone use a trust. A lot of people say, well, why is that the case? Because these entities are to shield serious assets. So one of the questions that I really get, or the vault gets inside of trustee training is do you have to have assets in order to even have a trust? And I would say no. Why? Because it's the way you start. It's about the way that you start. Thanks, Gustavo, for typing that in correctly. It's about the way you start. And I just really encourage you all to really think about as you start acquiring assets, whether it's your house, whether it's a car, whether it's a diamond ring for your wife as an engagement ring, whether it's for anything. It is to grow and to protect assets. We are in the asset acquisition business, ladies and gentlemen. If you are working a job, you are acquiring an asset. An asset is called a dollar bill. If you are in the business of acquiring assets, you're also in the business. You have a fiduciary responsibility to protect that asset. You also have a fiduciary responsibility to grow that asset. Most of the times, the asset in most cases of a job is you, if you have a job. And as far as a business owner, if you're a sole prop, it's you. If you are self employed, it's you. If you are a big business owner, then it's the business itself, that such as real estate that people are renting out and things of that nature. Celebrities. Why do celebrities want to be in trust? Because all the money that the royalties are being made, if they own those royalties, someone can sue them for the rest of their life off of those royalties. So I just wanted to talk about that today and share with you how you can do that. And I encourage you all to go to your local lawyers and talk to them about trust and see what do they know about trust. People always ask, where do I start? You start by interviewing these people and asking them that question. But you also can go to the vault, Christian at trustchristian.com, and we can possibly help you with that. So let's hop right into it. Let's hop into some questions. Minister Mark says, once you set up a trust, is there a requirement to fund the trust? So there's many things that you can do in place of a trust. Sometimes a trust is handed down to an individual. So it may have assets already in it. Sometimes, most of the time, it's not passed down with no assets in it. That's just the truth. He says, is there a requirement to fund the trust? It was really interesting is as soon as you are actually applying for an EIN for a trust, one of the questions that they ask you on the SS4 is for the IRS, one of the things they ask you is when was the trust funded? So traditionally, they don't really care when a trust was created. They specifically state when it was funded because funding now means how did it acquire asset, which is funds. The trust itself is not an asset. The trust is to protect assets, to grow assets in a manner in which it controls them. And the next question he has is, how do you work around the banks if they require an EIN? Does your trust include an EIN? So one of the things I just want to make perfectly clear is that the vault, and even in life for me, is I don't own a trust. Anytime you own a trust, that's statutory, it's revocable. We deal in irrevocable settings with the entities that we deal with. When it comes to trust, I encourage people to look into irrevocability. I remember doing an interview one time with a lawyer, and he said, yeah, none of our clients want to divest themselves of assets. So that's why they don't deal in irrevocable trust. They deal in revocable trust. Well, if you deal in revocable trust, that means you didn't give up true ownership of the asset. All you did was give control over, but you didn't give up control. I mean, you didn't give up ownership. You just gave up control to a temporary period. And so I encourage individuals to really look into the irrevocable side. But at the same time, we have proprietary processes in place over at the vault. That's why it's called the vault, is because we know how to keep the secrets that are secret. A trust is a secret. If you guys look up what is a trust in a Black's Law Dictionary, it says it's a secret. And so Mark says, does a trust have an EIN? So when you look at Well, why would a trust need an EIN? And I think that's very, very important. Thanks, Vincent Terry, for tuning in live. Yeah, I just wanted to say what you think about why does the trust need an EIN? Well, clearly the politicians and celebrities are utilizing the trust for banking purposes. They're utilizing it to have money go through those accounts. When you see an individual like Rick Scott over in Florida, where he had $500 million go through supposedly the blind trust, and you all can look Rick Scott up with that information. $500 million transaction. It really shares with you how individuals are operating and utilizing these entities to grow their wealth or grow wealth in general. I had someone contact us last year at the vault, and they were talking about the trust enable people to skip estate tax and inheritance tax, and I said okay, but they were actually talking about it skipping a generation. So it's like, well, how much control over the estate tax or the what is that, estate tax or inheritance tax, if it's only skipping a generation? There's not much control over that. There's very limited control. So I encourage you all to look into talking to lawyers or accountants, like I say, about that, about trust, and just getting your feet wet and going over the videos that we have available. But I can tell you one thing: when you look at the politicians, this is across the board, Democrat or Republican, celebrity or non-celebrity, anyone that has any type of wealth is definitely going to be in trust. The truth about the trust is that they're in it. And why won't they ever tell you? It's because it's a secret. So just wanted to say that I really am encouraging questions to be asked. I know I haven't been on the air in a long time, so I definitely am here to just go over some different ideas and content. Definitely did some things last year on real estate investment, and going to keep moving forward in that aspect, and even may come back and double back with more charitable education, because a charity can be in trust as well, and that's something that's very, very important. Let's go to the next question. Jack Bones, is there a scenario where the straw man could be viewed as an asset? So once again, when you go and you look at the straw man, not to be too deviant off of the topic here today, it says the truth about the trust and why they're used by politicians and celebrities is not because it's a straw man only. It is to protect assets. So the names that they have, Donald Trump is a name. A name is a corporation or a person, and a person is a corporation or a trust. You all can look up these terms inside of a Black's Law dictionary, and it will share with you that a straw man is I know I don't specifically use that term, and once again, it's not necessary when you're in trust, because the trust, like I say, it's not an asset. It controls and holds assets, protects assets. There's different types of trusts: there's public trust and private trust. And so those are the things that we want to be aware of. Private trust meaning without government, public trust meaning under government legislative rule. JT, thanks for tuning in live. Peace. I emailed you a couple of weeks ago for counseling. Appreciate that. Look forward to hearing back from you. Charles Z, can a credit card debt be discharged through a trust? So once again, if you understand the principle of discharge, then you understand that a trust is a person. It's like saying, can a corporation discharge debt? The United States is operating into bankruptcy right now. That's how they're able to get rid of certain debts, or not pay certain debt obligations. So when you talk about discharging it, I would just leave it real generic on this platform and talk about it as, hey, yes, these entities are able to discharge certain things. Why? Because they're in a position of control and not ownership. And on the back of that, they're a person, so they can do everything that me and you can do. If a person can discharge, then of course, when I say a person, whether it's natural, and I know a lot of people ask about the natural persons, but there are no natural people in commerce. There's only debt entities, because you're dealing with debt. And so things of that nature, when you really look around as far as discharging and of debt and things of that nature. So we got another question, Gustavo. He says, when dealing with private irrevocable trust, is it necessary to be a private secured party? And I remember just first starting out in trust, a lot of people would ask that question, and I would say no. It's not necessary, in my opinion. or in general. Because why? A secured party is a contract. Secured party creditor is a contract. And when you think about it, a private trust is a separate, distinct legal entity from the so-called straw man or another individual. Trusts are separate, distinct legal entities. So, Mr. Mark says, I'm interested in a private trust and utilizing the bank with it. And an attorney told me, and I seen on YouTube, one doesn't need an EIN to have a trust, and the trust and add trust to bank account. Okay, okay. So just to talk directly to Minister Mark, and I think this will help out the general audience. So once again, why they are used by politicians, and celebrities, is because they understand it's to focus on their privacy. And this individual Mark said, well, do they have to have a bank account, or does it need an EIN for a bank account? Ladies and gentlemen, when you go into a bank complies with SEC rules. It complies with FDIC rules, which are Federal Depository Insurance Company. And so these rules are in place for people to not create certain levels of fraud. So when it talks about EIN and the tracking number, they do want that when it comes to the banking. But as far as the trust just operating or standing on its own 2 feet, obviously there is no need for certain elements. Why? Because it's not dealing with banking and banking purposes. I know that that's very vague and I know it's very general, but at the same time, it's for the purposes of educational purposes and entertainment purposes. Why? For you to understand that when you're inside of the contract says that's what it's supposed to do. That's what it's supposed to do. That's the private side for you. On the public side, there are limitations. So when an individual asks about private trust, utilizing the bank with an attorney, and the attorney told him that it doesn't need an EIN. Well, how I've never, and I'll just be honest with you, I've never seen a trust be opened without an EIN. Thank you, Amanda P, for tuning in live. JT says, I'm in the process of getting my insurance. Could you connect me with the brother you had on the show that does the insurance? I'm interested in private business as well. That's very great. I'm happy to hear that. Definitely, I'll type that into the chat right now. And Don Shy, I'm trying to find a website your operation is on, but I can't find it. I'll type that in too. And we'll go forward from there. But I definitely am going to come back later this evening with a lot more concise education when it comes to that this evening at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And we'll go over some of those details about trust. But I definitely want to share why politicians and celebrities are using them. I think it's very, very important. You gotta understand it. It's about asset protection, asset separation. I think these are lessons that you have to learn, and so I just share them because I think that it puts you in a position of limited liability and almost no liability, virtually no liability when you don't own anything, but you can control things when you don't own things. So I definitely appreciate that, Minister Mark, JT, Amanda, all of you all that have tuned in live, Don Shy, appreciate that. Uh, uh, so we're gonna go forward from there. JT, I'm actually going to put that in right now, and we'll go forward from there. Or JT, if you could email Christian at trustchristian.com, it'd be great to connect with you. I am going to do an episode at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time today on Tuesday. I don't know if this is the first Tuesday of the year, but I'm oh it's not. I think it's not. So we'll definitely be doing an episode, and it'll be more focused on business. But I know this was more of a general conversation. So I look forward to the audience is popping and online right now, so I'm really excited about that. Just to get into the swing of things and really just kind of get back out and reach out to the people and share with you all the contracts or something we've been living in our whole life. So that means we've been living in trust our whole life, but it's a shift in mindset. Do you own anything, or are you controlling it? Are you in full liability, or are you in no liability at all? And while when I say liability, yes, you're a fiduciary, yes, you're to grow assets and protect those assets, but it goes beyond that. It goes into an ethical code. So excited about sharing that with you all today at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That will be 7 Central and I believe 5 Pacific. So just really excited. Look forward to hearing and seeing from you all. Please have some questions available then. I know we'll be talking about just basically why trust and why now. What is the purpose of a trust in 2019? And that's really to grow your wealth or your family's wealth privately. And no real wealth is built publicly, it's always built privately. So I look forward to hearing from you all. Peace and blessings. And I will talk to you all at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time every Tuesday here at the Vault.